slaves and hit those buttons, or I'll send ICE.
Hold up, grab my soda, cause I told you I'm colder than hell. I ain't buying what you sell, it don't ring my bell. Unless it's got the smell, you know, like grape ape. We ain't talking vapes or the color of drapes. Or a gorilla in a cape is the good shit. Just one hit, you so lit, you fall into a bit, non-bit. What's fucking funny is you're a monkey, a high school flunky, hero and junkie, obliteration of the carnation with gross castration, skewed citations by your intimation. Get real, young man, there's only one stand. You can't stand a suntan, how you gonna live on the land? Obliteration of the carnation with gross castration in skewed citations by your intimations. I'm a truth in rotation, you're a cheap imitation. Dark said hums, 808s make the ground shake. Cold as the grave, every word's a land quake. You're a flicker in a cipher, I'm the flame that won't fade. Step into the night where the shadows are made. What's fucking funny is you're a monkey, a high school flunky, hero and junkie. I'm gonna click another hit of this good shit, and I'm already it, so take over, it's been non-bit.
Thank you for joining us at Personality Inventory Mockumentary Productions.
And greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. I want to remind everybody, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. There's a PayPal link down there for anybody who wants to share some love. And always appreciated. And tonight we're going to talk about the social problems. The thing about fear-mongering and how we get conditioned to that through socialization. Even if it's our own basic family unit, teachers at school, psychiatry, psychology, church, job, politics. They're all social conditions. And a lot of it falls against our nature, particularly capitalism. Though capitalism is good for the modern age, and it is part of socialism in its construct of being able to commercialize your resources on that social unit with other social units. So we're going to get into it. We've got a bunch of shorts we're going to go over tonight. Just reviewing them and giving my opinion, and I dropped the link for anybody that wants to join the panel. Feel free to hit the link, come up and give your opinion as well. And that's all we're doing is commentary and discussion for educational purposes to figure out what the problem is and see if we can't come up with a solution. So let's start out first. And this is on the psychology of man. And I'm starting with man because I think it's our problem. Men in general, particularly in a patriarchal system, are the ones that are supposed to be maintaining the power in a control mechanism. And so let's take a look at what this lady says about men.
Has no friends, pay attention. If a man has no friends, pay attention. If a man has no friends or a very small circle, Don't get it twisted. That is not a red flag. That's a man who has mastered himself. A man without friends or a very small circle is a very, very secure man. He's learned that quality matters more than quantity, and he doesn't need an audience to validate his worth. His confidence comes from inside, not from the approval of others. He's not afraid to be alone because he knows his own strength. He is very selective with his energy and who he lets into his life. That is a good quality to have. He walks away from drama and gossip because he has built a peaceful life for himself and does not want to let that go. He doesn't need to be surrounded by people to feel complete. He's comfortable, he's grounded, he's steady, and he doesn't waste time on meaningless relationships. He knows that what he wants, and he doesn't waste time with it. So if you come across a man with very few friends or a very small circle, don't underestimate him. That's not loneliness. That is discipline. If a man...
And I tend to agree. It's discipline, knowing that you're not going to enter or allow things to enter your circle that are not good for you and others. And that's the protective side of a man. And a man that has a powerful protection side knows that discernment. He doesn't allow the stupidity. He doesn't allow the ignorance. He doesn't allow the things that will tear up that group. And that's a protection. And it's his most powerful trait, not provision, in my opinion. So think about this as we get started. And let's look at the foundation of conditioning and how easy it is to affect others.
There's something inside. Can you see what's inside the box? Can take the lid off. Is there something in there? There's a green cone. I'm going to put it back inside of the box and put the lid back on.
Yes, there could be a degree of protectiveness for oneself so much that they can't cultivate friendships. And I can't say that's not, I can't say that that is Paul because I don't know his friendships. But it is something that we can see that he doesn't seem to be able to cultivate friendships on the internet. Evidently, he does have people he associates with and does cultivate those friendships. But how long they last and what they're surrounded by is part of that discernment. You know, is he dependent upon them more so than being independent and gathering people that can help him in his means? Or, you know what, I don't know. And that's part of the problem, is being able to cultivate those friendships. And so when a man is able to cultivate those friendships, but those friendships are very limited, it's usually because he's very stern in sticking to it, in making sure that that he's doing what's right. My mom used to tell me, Keith, you know, if you just do things right, things have a funny way of working out. And certainly there has to be some kind of good intent and things like that, not just some humble-minded, blissful movement that somehow you get through things. No, I think the most powerful aspect here, again, when we think about that first video, is a man knows what he wants. Like the video said, he knows what he wants and he goes for it. And that's a prerogative. So this one here is emotional trauma is real. And what they're doing is they're subjecting this kid to a psychological experiment. And that was outlawed after the little Albert experiment. And yet here we have, this is Dr. Aruna, MD, Trinergy Health. And they're still doing this kind of psychological experimenting on children, despite the fact that it was outlawed. That's the power of this little video here. It's going to show you how easily these little kids are conditioned in one short video by one action, and it can alter or condition the way the child behaves.
On the box, and close it up. Can I see that? Thank you. Let's see what else we have. Look at this. See?
So now she's got a string of beads, and instead of putting something in the box and asking the kid to open the box and see what's in it, she's got a string of beads and a cup, and she picks up the beads and puts them in the cup. And every time she does so, it's making that noise. She drops it on the desk and makes that noise. She picks them up, puts it in the cup, makes that noise. Notice how the kid is behaving.
Look at this. There.
Hi, Teresa. I'm going to sit here and read a magazine.
Okay.
Now a woman has entered the room and said, I'm going to sit here and read a magazine. Now notice the kid didn't have any response, wasn't agitated or anything when those beads were making that noise.
Kelly. Kelly's going to sit and read a magazine. Kelly, look at this.
That's aggravating. That's so annoying.
Oh, I thought it was really interesting.
Well, that's just your opinion. It's aggravating.
Okay, see how close attention that child paid to that woman that got supposedly aggravated and escalated, raised her voice and said that it agitated her. Notice how close attention he paid to that. Now watch this.
Yeah. Can I see that? Thank you.
I'm going to go now, Teresa.
Kelly's going. Bye-bye. Kelly went. Bye-bye.
See, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but that's how easy it is to condition a little child. Otherwise, if you'd have put that cup in front of him before that woman came in and asked him to put the beads in the cup, he'd have done exactly that. And again, I remind you, after the little Albert experiment, they outlawed this shit, and yet they're still doing it. So pay attention. It's a matter of their experimentation continuing on, even after they told them, sorry, you can't do that no more. Let's take a look at the next one. And this goes to how the public servants treat people, whether they be male, female, adult, or children. So we're going to see a couple of videos here on that.
Diane Morgan got as she rushed over to the school her grandson Harris Moore was attending.
When I got there, I seen my grandson sitting in a wheelchair.
Arms behind his back, both hands cuffed.
I was so angry. I got him in the truck and proceeded to take him to the hospital.
And when they finally saw these scans, they could see the source of his head pain, a skull fracture down one side of his head.
So there's damage to his brain.
Yes.
Did they tell you what it was about?
They just said that he was in the hall, refusing to go back into his classroom.
Remember that student resource officer? He lifts Paris up and forces him headfirst into the hard school floor. He lifts Paris up and forces him headfirst into the hard school floor. He lifts Paris up and forces him headfirst into the hard school floor. The 4'11", 140-pound teen was knocked out cold.
He has a traumatic brain injury as a result of this incident, permanent brain damage in the areas of memory, speech. This officer used a deadly kind of force to take Paris down and knock him out cold when that was totally unnecessary.
The Rockford School District and Police Department refused to comment on the head slam and treatment of Paris.
This is totally unnecessary, uncalled for. This is police brutality. And that's the mentality that you dirty freaking cops have bought into. This is the reason why people hate cops.
Us.
Absolutely agree with Chili on that one. It's a part of the conditioning. It's a fear mongering to get you to fall in line and just do what you're told. Be one of those jackboot thug boot kissers. Do it or else. That's a conditioning, a social conditioning upon the masses to just do what you're told. This is what you do when you hand your children over to these people, folks.
Completely
So why don't you
ignorant.
tell me?
Because I have no need to contract with you. Okay. Anything I say to you could be used against me because you are corrupt.
Watch as this man tears apart every excuse they give, then kicks the CPS workers off his property.
Construe and twist everything anybody ever says to you guys, and you use it against them because you are a corrupt organization.
So that your mental health
My mental health is fine. I did a mental health assessment. It came back all good. You're not a mental health.
Exactly. You're not a mental health professional. Don't question my mental health. You're here to question certain activity. And as you'll find out, the questions should have occurred 6 months prior.
Professional. Hey, just because I don't align with your point of views doesn't make me mentally unhealthy.
What reason would you have to threaten a family court judge?
Did I?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Again, making a legal determination. What gave you the authority to threaten a judge? Okay, she called it threats. That's why she's there now. 6 months prior, if the judge thought it was a threat, then why did the judge not do something about it? You see the idiocy here?
Send me the recordings. Because like I said, you and your bosses construe everything and twist everything your own little way. You're a liar because if I did, it would be threats, right? And then an RCMP officer months and months ago when I actually made that voicemail would have came and talked to me then. Go arrest me for threats on a judge. People. So get the off my property.
And this is the problem I see in Minneapolis right now is people fearing for their lives, supposedly because they think they've got the people conditioned to fear them. And those that don't show fear, they're going to off them. They're going to shoot them, even if they're mommies of little children and just out voicing their opinion and focusing on the First Amendment. And I may have it wrong there, but that's what I see in Minneapolis. And then, of course, you have the same situation happen the day later in Portland, shot 2 people. So let's not limit this stuff and let's open this fucking wound up wide and get some healing done from it instead of just crying about it for another fucking century.
This is how they destroyed the family unit and pushed individualism.
Telling kids to leave home at 18 is one of the most successful psyops of modern life, pushed by central banks so that every family member can pay their own car, furniture, utilities, mortgage, and just like that, 10 people are plugged into the system. Add in student debt and you're drowning before you've even started life. But here's what they don't want you to know. Families that stay together can build businesses, share costs, and grow generational wealth. And when the family unit breaks, each generation starts from zero financially.
And this is the foundation that I'm laying out for a stream that I spoke on yesterday. I did a short stream about the social conditioning that we're going through, and I hope to have a panel here soon. Joe, if you're available to come up, I'd love to have you speak on it. And this is kind of a build up to that, because I think the family unit is the base social unit there is in nature. That's how we first learn to socialize, is through our mom and dad and our brothers and sisters, and then from our extended families. That social unit is the foundational unit for all socialism, whether it be socialism, communism, third universal theory that Gaddafi put out, whatever. It's the basic social unit that all societies are built on. And like it shows here, it's the part that employs the capitalism for the assets of that social unit, no matter how small or large it is. Greetings, Dominator. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Appreciate all the comments we've had back and forth. I think you're an astute, thoughtful young man, and I appreciate you coming up, put your word out. What do you think so far? How much have you watched so far?
I watched some shorts. I was mainly just setting up my camera and listening half in and half out. I saw you point out how easy it was to condition a child with just little, just little microaggressions, basically. That's what that
Yes,
was.
absolutely, absolutely. All right, well, let's continue this one. This is my as in our discussion, this is what I was talking about, the social unit as it leads to the international forum, the national forum, and tribal units, that extend beyond that family unit. This is where they mimic the family unit, is that part where we're supposed to be building together. And when mom and dad are raising their children, it is a socialist system because they have to provide for their children. It's natural. And that's the natural social unit I was talking about, not as the society that we see today that's so large and dependent upon capitalism itself.
Well, I think using the word socialism to describe it is wrong, because socialism itself is a modern term, and it is the definition that I provided from the Merriam-Webster. It is just basically when a centralized authority controls the means of production and distribution of services and products. And
right.
This is not what the family unit's about. The family unit's based on trust, it's based off nourishment, and it's based off of responsibility, not giving ourselves over to a collective to oversee our labor.
Correct. And that's what Gaddafi was all about, was leaving that power in the hands of the people, because it strengthened the family, the basic social unit. And again, I think we're in agreement there, is that the social unit it is the family itself. But socialism, as we define it today, is more about that capitalism, the commercialism, the profits, and this and that. And that's where, when we hand that power over to a representative body, we're actually handing over our sovereignty, our ability to maintain ourselves. And that's what Gaddafi was against. So let's look at this and continue on. If you got anything else to, go ahead and speak out. I'm not against speaking more.
No, and
spiritually. That's not freedom. It's a setup, and it's by design. In most cultures, living at home until marriage is considered normal, but Western hyper-individualism tells us that it's weak to stay connected. Intergenerational living can certainly have its challenges, but it's a way of creating the village that so many of us are yearning for. There is medicine in the triggers and so many lessons in healthy communication, good attachment, and problem solving as a team.
And that's the thing that we're missing in these large societies, is problem solving as a team. Because most people that vote for that representative body, they leave that responsibility with them and want them to come up with the solutions. And this is where we have problems like California voting out the use of plastic straws in paper wraps, and you end up with using paper straws in plastic wraps, while totally ignoring the actual condition of recycling all the plastics, including the plastic cup and the plastic lid that you use with that plastic straw. So basically there was no resolution, and the people, they seem satisfied. Good job. Now we're not going to use plastic straws. But the end result is not a good job, because we see that we just switched the products. We're still using the plastics. We just switched from paper straws or plastic straws and paper wraps to paper straws in plastic wraps. Where was the solution? There was none. You can't come to a solution in that problem trying to use society as a whole, because they're all going to vote different. And most likely you're going to oversee or not look at the actual issue. And that's what I think is the actual problem here with socialism. People aren't looking at the actual solution. They're looking at the definitions and trying to determine what kind of socialism it is. I don't care what kind of socialism it is. It's all founded on the basic family unit, where that socializing starts from as a matter of nature. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, it makes sense when you frame it from the family unit perspective and trying to, nourish people and grow them into being self-sufficient individuals who don't need a centralized authority to basically being mommy and daddy later in life because they missed out on that when they were a child.
Bingo. See, that's part of that social conditioning of tearing down the family. As young men and women, we go out into the world and we think it's screwed up because it's not set up for us. No, that's not the way it is. We're supposed to be set up for the world, and our families are lacking in that. And part of that is the social conditioning that's tearing apart those families. It's by design.
Yeah, I'd say, and one thing that I think does do that is the acceleration of technological advancement. You have
Absolutely.
this generational divide of boomers. People are against the boomers, and I'm not going to say that they were good or bad, but I feel like that I feel like that the divide between the older generations and the younger generations is part of that social conditioning. Because if you look at other societies like the Amish, they don't have this problem. The only problem they really have is trying to keep people who want to either bring too much technology into their society or who want to leave. But they don't have this thing where they're like, oh, there's this older generation and there's this newer generation, and there's this divide amongst them because the older generation seems like they want to sell the newer generation out. They don't have that because they are based around the family system.
Correct. And they raise their children up and they give them the opportunity at a certain time. I think it's called Rumspringer or something like that, where they can go out upon the world and check it out for themselves and decide whether they want to remain Amish or if they want to go societal. And I think that's a good way to do it. Raise your children up to give them the opportunity to make that decision. But first, you must teach them your way of life. This is part of their scripture that says, put thine house in order. And they know the government has no place in the house. So let's take a look at the next one. This next one is Robin Williams. And part of that family destruction is, like I said earlier in the stream, it's men's fault. We're the ones that are supposed to have our houses in order. And if we don't, and we allow our children to grow up believing they're princes and princesses, that's a fairy tale. We're not teaching them the reality of life. We're not teaching them trust. We're not teaching them corporate activities. We're not teaching them how capitalism works. We're not teaching them how to invest in themselves to create a line of assets for later life. We're not teaching them that stuff. We're teaching them to go out in the world that you got to get a job, you got to get a social security number, you're dependent upon the government, you got to pay taxes. And that's the brainwashing. It is the conditioning of the people that came before us that created this voting system that isn't good for us. I've never registered to vote. I've never voted, just so everybody knows. So let's listen to Tony Robbins.
Taught you that you're his little prince. Your father taught you that you're his little princess, didn't he? Yes, he taught you you're perfect, didn't he? He really you up, didn't he?
Yeah. Thank you, Dad.
Yes. He taught you to expect the man in your life to be the same as him. But see, there's only one problem. He didn't have to put up with your because you valued and admired him.
You're good, right? You're so...
This is an important aspect to remember, folks. Like I say, don't believe me. Don't believe the neighbor. Don't believe the government. And for crying out loud, don't believe your mother. We have to get beyond believing that our moms and dads are the best there is. We have to understand that there's a loyalty and an honor and a trust with our family. But the actuality of being a real mother and father is that when you raise your children, you raise them with that proper education of your family values and try to bring them up so that when they grow up and be adults, they are better than you. And that's the progressiveness that we should be thinking about instead of this modern progressive movement. The progressive movement on that societal level is for capitalism, and it's merely a mimic, again, of what the family structure should be.
Yeah, I think a part of our place as children is to learn what we can from our parents, take from them principles, and other guidances that are going to help us in life. But at some point, we do have to stop listening to them, because almost certainly our parents, you know, even if they have their best intentions, they have been subjected to the conditioning of the world themselves, and they have a lot of false biases and superstitions and all this other stuff. So it's not that, you know, not listening to them or disobeying them is out of malice or hate or because you think they're dumb. It's just because at some point we have to grow up and realize, well, you know, our parents were duped just like everyone else. And, you know, they did the best they can. But if I want to grow into the best version of myself, I have to come to discover the truth for myself and stop relying on, you know, what my parents told me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That self-discernment is so important. And it's imperative to use it with your parents and that relationship. It is paramount because, again, like Dominator said, otherwise we end up becoming indoctrinated just like they did.
Oh, good. 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 Wow. Yes.
And he didn't have sex with you, so there wasn't the piece of you feeling a sense of control over him. It wasn't something you could give or withhold from him.
And this is the thing that we have to realize in this thing we call love. There are many different kinds of love, and it depends upon the hat you're wearing. A man will love his daughter different than he loves his wife, just the same as Tony Robbins is talking about. A man will love his daughter in a specific way and treat her like a princess. Same with his wife. But the difference is that he's doing it for his daughter to bring her up so she can go out and find her own man, not to come close to her father. And so there's a different relationship when it comes to that love that she has to understand that daddy's not teaching her. Mommy's not teaching her. And that's the problem. We have to be able to teach our children the aspects that we used when we were developing our relationship with our wife.
It would not affect his sense of love with you.
In other words, we have to discuss the problems too. We have to help them be aware of the problems that there will be. And if you keep believing that men are the same today as they were 60 years ago, that is part of the problem. And we'll get into that as well again.
So you had no power. So you worked to please him. It made you believe that love is something that should be expected and you could take it away because it was always there from him. And you've taken it away from this man. I'm not defending anything this man has done. I don't know what he's done. I bet he's done some stupid things that he probably hates himself for. But so have you. And if I was coaching, I would probably tell him to move on, because this girl acts sweet, is sweet, and will take away love in a heartbeat if she doesn't get what she wants, because she's lived a life where she could.
This is imperative when we think about modern day too, because we have to realize that we had a patrilineal government at one time, and then the 19th Amendment was passed, and this put women in a workplace. And what that did, it helped them to socially condition them to be around a bunch of these beta cucks in an office space or in a work environment where these beta cucks, because they just like women always want something better, start hitting on the woman. And if the woman is already involved in the family, it doesn't matter. It's not just women that will try to tear up a family and try to get a friend's boyfriend or something because they like him more than her or whatever. It happens on both sides. And there are certain places for women, and I don't think that it's a valuable thing for me to allow my woman to work in an environment where other men are trying to get her interested in a sexual affair of some sort. That's not supposed to happen in the workplace. And if you have a workplace full of men, I don't think it's going to be too much happening otherwise. And that's why I like the traditional family unit where women are generally tend to stay at home. Very few women are out in the workforce. And generally, if they are, it would, I have memories of history back in time where they filled certain jobs and that's it. If you look at the population today and construction jobs, engineering jobs, things like this, most of those jobs are held by men, a very large percentage, 95%, 97%. Where are the women in the workforce? And when they get into those workforce positions, they want to feel equal to men. That's it. They want to feel equal to men. You can't fulfill the equalness of a man. You can fulfill the equalness of your role, but you cannot fulfill an equalness to a man because a man doesn't have the same role. What do you think, Dominator? Greetings, Cage.
Hey, what's up, Cage?
Yeah, yeah. It's my, I made an appearance, after the mycology talk.
I think that the main problem with women in the workplace is the fact that the workplace is so masculinized in the first place. It's pretty much a culture based off of getting as much profit as possible, defeating the competition, and out competing everyone at the expense of whoever expense it might come at. And women, they want to become this aggressive, masculinized thing that is not even really resembling a real woman at that point, because they want to tap into this false masculine energy in the corporate world. This is what the feminism movement, I think, is really about. It's not just to remove women from the family unit. It's to remove the feminine out of the women altogether.
It's just an object. Like, it's my cat, my children, my this and that. Like, you own, like, even like thinking it's like, oh, my children or anything. Technically, that claims ownership over another sentient being, which is completely ridiculous. You think you're gonna bring something into this quote world? First of all, you never did shit. You facilitated it. And then second of all, you want to try bringing something into this goddamn world, and then claim ownership over it. It's my pet. It's my pet, my dog, my cat, my children, my this, my that.
Yeah, and that's that smallest unit, that family unit. You can make those claims because that pet is generally at that home, that same social environment. That's the claim, is the unity, not the ownership. But the
bullshit.
unity. Yeah, and that's where society as a whole misconstrues it, that the government owns the people because of a unity. That is not so.
If her father had not taught her she's a princess, she would learn that she would have to find a way to meet the needs of others, not just herself and her children. And she would never take love away because she wouldn't take the risk. As a result of that, their relationship could be more deep. Because it all changed when children came, and it wasn't the children, it's that she decided the love of the children was her priority, and she pulled back love from him without meaning to initially. But then when he didn't do things she wanted the way she wanted, she got mad, and then she did do it deliberately. And he didn't understand that at first, and then he felt hurt, and then that turned into anger, and then he did stupid things because he's used to being able to make things happen.
Absolutely. And you can, again, call me misogynist all you want, guys and ladies, but that's not my perspective. My perspective comes from a protective mode. I think women should traditionally stay at home because, like I said, I wouldn't want my wife out in a workforce where the rest of the workforce consisted of 97% men. I would feel that she's not protected. I do not trust you, men. Make sure that's clear. I do not trust you. That's what Dominator was talking about earlier. How can I trust a man I don't know? And why would I send my woman out to an environment where 97% of those men or it encompasses 97% men I can't trust.
Well, it's not necessarily the men themselves.
No, but hold on, pause quickly. Okay, your woman.
I'm sorry, what was that, Cage?
Mute me. I'm asking, like, pause. Like, I'm hearing what you're saying. Like, it makes logical sense to me. But why do you think they have ownership over another human being? Just like the pet thing. It's like, it's my dog, my cat.
They don't.
My this, my that.
They don't. It's just, again, like I said, you can call me misogynist.
People are gonna fucking move this.
Okay, stop interrupting me. We've been through this enough, Cage. So it's not a matter of ownership.
All right.
It's not a matter of possession. Like I said, we already have a unity. And in that unity, if I want to keep and maintain that unity as a man, I have to provide the protection. I cannot provide protection for my wife if I send her out into a workforce where she is surrounded by 97% men that I myself cannot trust. If I knew them all and I could trust them, I might be willing to do that, but I don't.
It's a nice trick, Pero, though. Like, what if you have like a nice woman, put her little voice on, and then manipulate the fuck out of people, and you know, there you go. You have a nice like little moaning voice in your fucking ear, and they're gonna fucking take all your shit. Like, what the fuck? You could do that too.
Well, yeah, but what's that got to do with the topic here? Again, you're misconstruing the ownership thing. It is not about ownership. Just because I say my wife, okay, understand, I'm not claiming ownership. I'm claiming a unity. She is my wife because she's here with me daily. We do things daily. I've done for a couple decades. That's not a unity she has with any other man. And if I want to maintain that unity, I keep her with me. I make sure that if she goes out in the working in the rest of the world, she's not going to be accosted, sexually motivated, or motivated in any way to go to another man. I do my best to provide everything.
Isn't that almost like childlike? It's like dealing with like a literal child at that point.
Yes, and it's just like Tony Robbins was talking about. I have to make sure I provide for her, otherwise she will go seeking somewhere else because she isn't getting what she wants.
So we have to kick rocks and fuck yourself. Why the fuck would I be with some person? I'm not dealing with children.
That's not the point.
No, think about it though. Think about it.
You're not going to play this game with me again, Cage. I told you. If I have to kick you again, it will be forever. You understand me, brother?
I get it. I'm listening.
Thank you. So it's not a matter of trying to control and dominate them. It's a matter of trying to protect them. And again, if I don't want her to go somewhere else and take that chance in this insane world we live in today, where you can see it regularly, of another man taking advantage of her simply because she's a woman and he wants something from her. It doesn't matter what it is. That's what we're facing. And I don't like that kind of social system.
Okay, so ask why.
Why would I not want to protect my woman?
No, I'm saying why, you know, even if you're down or whatever, why? It's been shown in war, right? Even in the world wars, right? Like, they'll link up with people, like, okay, we're on the winning team. And all of a sudden, you know, shit hits a fan, and they go directly to the opposition right away. Why? This is self-preservation. It's fucked.
Yeah.
So why the fuck? Not everybody's like that. I'm saying, like, why the fuck would I link up with somebody that has that mind state? And why do I have to have some obligation to be your fucking, your parent? You know what I mean? Like, your parents fucking didn't raise you correctly. I don't want to be around you.
But see, that's not a matter of force. Again, in a unity like this, it's a matter of want. It's a matter of will and desire to stay in that unity. That's what I call my wife. I do not have a marriage by a state license. Me and my wife are wife under wedlock. It's
your wife and I.
Yeah, my wife and I. Okay, great. But again, the aspect is that it's a unity, not a possession. And therefore, I'm not possessing her and controlling her. I'm providing and protecting for her because I want to remain in that unity. I love her. We have a great relationship. That's how socialism is supposed to work. It's supposed to be founded on a good relationship. The people we have today do not have a good relationship with the government because the government, by design, is tearing up that relationship at the basic family unit. So let's get on to the next one. The next one I got here is a confession of a feminist, and that's why I say you can call me misogynist all you want, but it's not a matter of being misogynist.
Come on, El Perry, you misogynist piece of fucking garbage, right? Like, enough. You know, it's kind of funny. But okay.
So let's take a look at this. Is Pearly. I've got a few Pearly clips from feminists.
Not this fucking, not this redhead fucking fire crush cunt. Okay.
Well, let's stay away from those comments and let's keep it clean to the
I'm
material.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Socialism.
We'll keep it PG. We'll socialize the fuck out of it.
Socialism and the relationship between men and women that has been destroyed because of the outlook they were raised up with. You know, being raised as princes and princesses.
What makes women happy? And I was thinking on this way, like, well, what makes me happy is, unfortunately, or fortunately, the traditional things. And now, had I said that to my 20-year-old self, I would be horrified because I was a good.
Yeah, see, we grow into the tradition and look back and reflect if we do that and see the problem with the way we were acting.
People in general, they move
I
like
didn't even
fucking
hear what
children.
she said because Cage talked over.
Yeah,
my bad.
Yeah, let's again, Cage. I'm wearing thin myself, so please. I mean, if you got something to say, hey, please pause. Don't just interrupt and overtalk. It's etiquette, brother.
What makes women happy? And I was thinking on this way, like, well, what makes me happy is, unfortunately.
Hey, please pause. She said she was sitting on the toilet.
Okay, let's. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Hey, please.
My apologies, brother.
What makes women happy? And I was thinking on this way, like, well, what makes me happy is, unfortunately, or fortunately, the traditional things. And now, had I said that to my 20-year-old self, I would be horrified because I was a good feminist and I fought my way through comedy and I did all the clubs I'll show you, I'll be the best female comic. And I carried this anger that compelled me for 20 years, right? And then you became a mom, and I got humbled by illness. And then I was like, okay, so what makes me happy? I know what makes me happy. I can't speak for all women, but is there something to my biology, to my essence? Possibly. It was the male ideal of success that ruined women. It was this idea that in order to become equal, we had to be like you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was saying earlier. You know, like you're saying, you know, them entering a workforce where there's 97% males. And I agree that is a problem because I work in construction and I see that type of stuff and I know how a lot of men are. But the problem isn't so much the men themselves. It's like it's basically the sacred masculine that they're trying to take. But it's not this corporate world, though. It's not even the real sacred masculine. It's like this false thing that tries to be it. It's not really based on protection, which is what you're talking about. That's what the sacred masculine's really about. It's about protecting the sacred feminine. Yes. And because women have forgotten what it's like to be women because they've been pushed down this path like what she's describing, where they've been told you have to be like men, they aren't able to tap into the sacred feminine. And because of that, that's why society is really degrading, because there is no sacred feminine. There's no real social cohesion at the home level or the community level, let alone the national level. You know, if you don't have it at the home level or the community level, you're not going to get it at the national level or even the international level.
Correct.
You know,
you're looking at a population that women in that sacred feminism don't have that sacred feminism you were talking about, and that's because they're seeking that masculine power and control, and that is toxic. So when I hear toxic masculinity, I don't see it as being applicable to men. I see it as applicable to women because it's a masculinity that is toxic to their feminine aspect. Same with the toxic feminism. That is applicable to men who won't step into their masculinity and would rather be feminine. And that's the conditioning of the society and the insanity where we have trannies, these men that want to be women. And again, look at the scale of that. Massively outnumbering the women that want to be men sexually. I don't get it. It is insanity to me.
Yes.
That's the problem. I have to have my career exactly like Todd's. I have to be successful. Like, this is not going to work for me. This is not going to work because I'm a mother. My body can't keep up with this pace of work. It's not.
Yeah. That's the main problem with feminine people in the workforce. You have to have that masculinity. So again, when you're entering the construction world, there aren't very many women that are masculine physically. But emotionally, they are very masculine. They want that control. They're very demanding. They're very controlling, and they will not accept anything they don't want. That's masculinity, and that's toxic because it destroys your femininity. You will be single women all of your life. How does that work for your femininity when you can't even bring children into the world as single women? Or how about the women that are bringing in multiple children by multiple daddies and raising them on their own with the support of a false patriarch, a welfare system that, again, will not train those children how to be real men and women. They will that system will indoctrinate them to be just like that mother and just like that daddy that don't have a relationship. Next one we have is that education is the main foundation that's tearing us up. We are, as parents, are giving up our main responsibility of teaching our children our family values by handing them over to a public education system.
Name 3 countries besides the USA.
Wait, Canada, right? Right?
Mhm.
Canada is Africa one?
That's a continent.
Continent. Wait,
stay in school, girl. Don't drop
guys.
Who did the US gain its independence from?
Mexico.
What language do the people in Idaho speak?
I don't live in Idaho.
What country did the Vietnam War happen in?
Guatemala.
Name 3 countries besides the USA.
Wait, Canada, right? Right?
Amazing answers, huh? This is what public education gives us. This is why I say America is very weak, in fact. If you think that you can have a strong nation when its people, on average, have an education of an 8th grade reading comprehension, then what is it that they really comprehend?
Well, entertainment, that's one thing Americans have been trained on for a long time.
Yeah, it's that popularity contest. That's what's taking over. I've spoken on it many times. The individualism and being popular in yourself. You don't need to attach yourself to anybody else. And in that popularity game, when you do, that's when people start looking into the crevices of that relationship and wonder if you don't have some sexetary underneath the desk smoking a cigar with her twat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's sick, Another reason why I've never registered to vote. I know my values. I know how to validate myself, not just by having arguments with my parents and having different ideologies than them, but having a different ideology that I don't substantiate by having a whole nation try to back me up. I stand on my own validation. I don't need anybody else. I don't need it written down in a book to affirm to somebody else. I don't need it reiterated over and over as if though this is a source. It's just my opinion. If you don't like it, that's okay. That's okay. So again,
I was going to say, I don't know if Cage maybe wants to come back up. I don't know how bad he is with you usually, but I don't know. Maybe he'll be all right again.
No, I doubt it. I've had to do it before, and it's been a year since I've allowed him back on. And first time he comes back on, he shows he hasn't actually learned his lesson. Plus, I've watched him on other panels. I gave him the opportunity. But the next one, why women always leave. So let's check it out. And again, you can call me misogynistic all you want. We're just reviewing material, and it does seem like a lot of videos about women. But again, like I say, the main imperative still falls on men. We're the ones that are supposed to set our house in order. So, no matter what it takes, it's us that's got to rebuild it. Whatever we built and is being destroyed, we have to rebuild it again. Never in history have women built a society. It has always been built on men, and there have been matrilineal portions within society, but they always encompassed men. There's never been any full matrilineal society, whereas there are several patrilineal societies where women were traditionally excluded and are traditionally excluded yet today.
Well, there have been societies where women were more of the leaders than men. Kush was one of them. A lot of Native Americans, they lead towards the women, and the women they pass down the lineage. And also, they just recently discovered a new one in China. So
right, and
women,
the Jewish,
yes, Jews.
But
they're a bit more balanced because the woman, they pass on the lineage, but the men, they tend to rule the tribe or the community.
Correct. Absolutely. So, that's that's where that femininity at that leadership level comes into play as a proper aspect. I'll agree there, because that nurturing sense, the nurturing sense of that social unit. When a woman is in control of that and it's part of that entire society, she issues that as an equality amongst all, the nurturing, not the feminine or masculine, but the nurturing of each member throughout their entire tribe. And that is a proper aspect. And that's what we don't see in these patrilineal things. Right. We see the power and control in those kind of societies.
And as men, that's what we're supposed to be defending, the nurturing aspect and the generative principle, right?
Correct.
I say that leads, and then the men defend that.
Correct. That's an empowerment. Oops, wrong one. Skipped it.
Common job of a woman that divorces her husband.
Statistically, the highest would be homemakers.
I think.
And here we go. Here we're going to get into those percentages.
The tasks that used to be incumbent on a homemaker are very easily done now. When you were a stay-at-home mom in 1920, you were washing the cloth diapers. You'd go to the grocer or the butcher, and you would buy the things to make a meal, and then you would make that meal for your family. It required quite a bit of effort. And so there was inequality. The man was out there working, women were at home, but they were both really working. Now, that job's really easy. We've got people gassed up on this idea that, like, oh my God, the hardest job in the world is being a mom. And it's like, guys, it's not. When your job gives you hours during the day to do nothing but sort of ruminate and compare yourself to other people that you're looking at online and watch TV and listen to messages about why you're great and why everything else is everybody else's fault. Does it turn you into the kind of person who's like, yeah, you know what? There's a better life out there and I deserve it. Yeah, it turns you into that person. It's the
Absolutely. Great example. Women used to wash cloth diapers. I don't think we even make cloth diapers anymore, except for maybe the Amish, Mennonites, few of those. But that's one of those convenience that came about through technologies and stuff. Same with the wash machine. It's not just the diapers, but the wash machine itself. Not just washing cloth diapers, but the entire family clothing. And that took a while of physical labor. Now we have washers and dryers that do all of it. So while it's washing and drying, now what do? Well, that's the comfort and convenient that leads things to a pattern of comfort that they get used to, and think that that's the totality of their relationship. No, you have to take on that role and fulfill it in all kinds of aspects. And today we have women trying to fulfill roles through those comforts and convenience, the same as men. And they consolidate that convenience to get rid of all of their responsibilities, even dinner making. The man oftentimes will stop and grab dinner at a restaurant, take-home restaurant on the way home, and a woman's not even cooking anymore. And again, you can call me misogynist all you want, but that's the effect of a capitalist society of men and technology trying to make things comfort and convenient for their women.
Yeah, I was thinking of that today. I don't think I mentioned it in the comments, but I was thinking it when we were messaging each other, is how technology has taken away people's purpose, because in the times before the cities, you know, people were more dependent on the responsibilities of each other. They were more dependent on individuals going out and gathering food or hunting food, and they were dependent on certain acts or rituals to maintain order within their society. And these things, they were just there to basically help people be more free in a tough world. But once we removed the toughness of the world through technology, people's purpose began to, or seemingly just kind of went away, especially once we introduced these cities. You know, we definitely saw this during the modern industrial revolution, but I think even during ancient times when they first built the first cities, people, they left the nature and they went to a more centralized authority, and they became more dependent on the centralized authority rather than their own responsibilities that had carried them through the hardships, because now they had technology. Now they had, you know, plumbing systems, which was really the heart of the city. And socialism, to me, it kind of seems like a watered down version of Hermeticism, in the sense that they want to transmute capitalism into socialism the same way Hermetics want to transmute lead into gold, but they've completely removed all spiritual components in their socialism.
I see it the same way. I think we're in a lot of agreement here, brother.
Well, I've seen your channel, and from what I've seen of it, I think generally you want freedom and you want people to be able to express their free will without the threat of harm or coercion coming under them. So yeah, I'd say that we probably would come to a lot of agreement, because that's generally what I want too.
Yep. So the next one, when it comes to relationship and that princess thing that Tony Robbins was talking about, we're going to talk about the whoredom. Again, this is women and men both. But the aspect of what women see in sex is totally different than the aspect that men see in sex, I believe. And so we're going to take a look at this one woman on her body count.
Roster, right?
Oh yeah, who does?
Okay, how big's the roster?
Probably like starts with a 3.
Your roster's in the 30s.
Yep. But they all know I'm not twisting words.
What's the longest period of time of a guy who you're currently seeing that you've been hanging out with?
5 years.
Okay, what's the longest relationship you've ever been in?
It was also 5 years.
Also, you've been seeing this guy for 5 years. Is he dating other women?
No.
He's exclusive to you?
Yes.
But you're dealing with other dudes?
I'm honest. I tell him how it is.
Wait, so when you say you're open with them, what do you tell them?
I just say, listen, we're again going to keep this casual. I'm seeing other people.
But you tell them like, all right, if Brad wants to see you on Friday, are you like, just BTW, like I hooked up with...
I booked with Jerry.
With, Jerry Seinfeld on Wednesday, maybe give it another day.
I don't know if I go that in depth.
off.
You do tell them, I'm seeing other people.
Yes.
Okay. And they're fine with that? The guys are cool with that?
If they're not, then they gotta move on.
Some guys are okay with that.
Actually, I would say 99.9% are.
Well, yeah.
So in aspects to the Anthony Robbins thing a little bit ago, you're either a princess or a whore in today's society. It's the way it seems. And again, this is not just women, it's men as well. You know, you're either looking for a traditional relationship or you're not. You're either out there fucking around in your toxic feminism, looking for a good, strong woman to support you, or you're actually a traditional man looking for a woman that's good for you, not just trying to get your dick wet. You know, and nobody's ever taught them that. I can see it because nobody ever taught me that either. But I've always been, you know, one looking for a certain type of woman. But in today's society, it's going to be kind of hard to find that kind of certain woman, you know, the one that's a virgin, because society has become so used to allowing that intercourse with our minors. And it's sick. You know, it's that part of that video earlier about bringing your children up in a family unit and not just kicking them out when they're 18 and saying, okay, the world's yours, take it by the tail.
I'm a bit younger than you, but I feel like generally there hasn't been a lot of virgins in the United States. Certainly, I'd say since my grandparents have been alive.
Yeah, it's pretty much virtually destroyed. You know, and you know, surprisingly enough, ladies, if you think you're a princess the way daddy raised you, you would be celibate until you found your prince. Otherwise, it's the aspect of kissing a frog and expecting a prince. In case you didn't realize the moral of that story. So let's take a look at the next one again. Another woman and her view on Pearly.
Why guys would have a problem with a woman with a high body count, though?
I think it's insecurity. Do they really want to?
No, it's not an insecurity. Again, it's the aspect of wanting a good woman, one that hasn't been out there whoring around and got so many diseases that I might be taking a chance myself. You know, it is a reality, and you have to quit blaming it on the man being insecure. If he's wanting a good woman, why would that be a trigger to say that he's insecure? It's only a trigger because he's saying that you're not a good woman with a high body count.
Have a woman that is just a virgin, because she's not gonna be good and she's gonna have no experience.
They don't need you to be good, though.
That's so boring. Isn't that
It's not
boring?
boring.
So instead of looking for a good, solid, traditional relationship, it's just like the woman that wants the bad man because it's exciting. They've got so much time on their hands because they're not taught to keep busy and productive all day long doing traditional woman things, because we've already provided enough convenience for them that they can lack off all day. They can go to a swimming pool. They can go to the movie theaters. They can go to concerts and stuff. Like you were talking about earlier, all the entertainment is what we're being induced by. It's now a popularity contest and not a traditional set thine house in order. The house has been destroyed.
It's like you haven't been to it at all. That's why I like you. I think that's crazy. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me at all.
They don't find it unattractive that a woman would have inexperience, because they feel like, you know, what's going to make that experience in the bedroom so powerful is not that she can bounce off the walls or knows all these tricks or knows all these sexual things and look, she's doing something like out of a porno. And what's appealing is that she's really excited to be there for him. She's present, she's loyal, she's committed, and he doesn't need her to be an acrobat. He just needs her to be loyal. Do you understand why?
And that is the epitome of security. A man is more secure when he's got a woman that's loyal and caring and nurturing and by his side and supportive. That's the security a man is looking for in a woman. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. A lot of guys, they lack that, you know, and that's probably a big reason why so many of them are promiscuous, because they're getting so much of that they can get it from all these different women, and then
Right.
you know, the women, they think that they're getting something from these types of men that they're not getting from the other types of men. So it leaves the other men out. And it just kind of creates this, I don't know, this sense of anger within a lot of men, was why you get things like MGTOW and things like that.
MGTOW, in case you guys don't know, MGTOW, men going their own way. Because today's societal, and again, it's not just women, but men as well. So I'm sure there are women going their own way. This is why we have so many single adults nowadays and still having intercourse with each other. They're on their own, but we have a society that allows a woman to have that capacity of being equal to a man by having her own job. And she doesn't have a man at home trying to protect her, so she's willing to put up with other beta cucks trying to hit on her at work. You know, it's a strange, insane, lunatic loop.
Why guys would have a
Oops, wrong one. I want to go to the next one, and we're going to come in with a little bit of comedy to help break it up. But the comedy is going to show some reality.
I'm getting beer. It's $10.99.
We don't have money for that.
Shitting me right now? Ooh, what the fuck's that?
Makeup?
That's $28 fucking dollars. Put it back.
It's to make me look pretty.
Beer does the same thing. $10.
Beer will make you look pretty, and it's $10. You don't need the $28 makeup. Who you trying to look pretty for? See, it's a basic message. And we have to understand that, folks, in order to have a good relationship like that, you have to be comprehending your partner, how he or she sees things as well. Because this is, again, not just women, but men will do this thing when they get into their fancy tools as well. You don't need such a fancy tool if you're just using it for your own home remodeling. You don't need to get into a professionalism about it. You want to do a professional job, but there are certainly cheaper ways and means to do a lot of the things that men do. But we want the best of things just like women do as well. And that's that capitalism seeping into our life and trying to help us keep up with the Jones in the popularity contest. You know, a guy's got a perfectly good mower to mow his lawn, and he does a great job. But his neighbor's got one of them goddamn remote Roombas now. He doesn't even have to sweat. Same with the snowblowers. You got remote control snowblowers. You can operate right from inside and not even have to go out and get cold. You don't even have to get in your fucking boots, you know? And it's the displacement of our real responsibilities in our nature.
Yeah, I think that goes along with what I was saying earlier about technology taking over responsibility, what you just said. But not just technology, but money too. Money is this thing that people has basically become people's god in this world. You know, the same way that ancients, like in Mesopotamia, would serve their gods, they would literally, their whole life would revolve around how they're going to serve the gods. Well, now, instead of serving the gods, people just serve money. How are we going to pay the bills? How are we going to get more money? And all money brings is more worries. I heard, I think it was Grant Cardone, and I know he's a grifter, but he said, if you're rich, you're scared because you know that you're pretty close to becoming bankrupt at any moment, especially if you're out there investing your money. So money is very fickle. It's basically like playing musical chairs. You know, there's the haves and then there's the have-nots. And if you want to be the haves, well, either you're going to have to, as they say, sell your soul. You know, you're going to have to sell out, or you're going to have to be born to some family.
Yeah, and if we think about it, money itself is a technology.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's take a look at the next one. This is talking about another pearly one, talking about avoid them at all cost. I think this is the one that's going to get into some toxic stuff. You know, like we were talking about the toxic masculinity and stuff.
that a woman has to go work like a man every day, and a man goes work and he's tired when he gets home. And a woman's not tired. She has to clean, cook, do the dishes, do the laundry. Are you kidding me? Why don't
Yeah, as we already expressed, those putting dishes in the dishwasher is not doing dishes. Putting clothes in the washer and dryer is not doing laundry like it used to be. It's not so time consuming and full productive physical labor. The convenience has cut so much out of it, and you're trying to hold it up as if though it's still this hyper physical activity, and it's not. It's not. It has no comparison.
you want to do that? What are you talking about? Why don't I want to do it? You know how fucking tiring that is? Have you done that?
First of
Have you
all,
done that? I do it every day.
First of all, do not choose a woman who don't want to be a woman.
Right. So you don't want to be a woman. No, you don't want to be a woman.
Yelling doesn't mean you're winning the argument. It's a sign of low intelligence. You can lower your voice and speak to me. I'm sitting right here. I can hear you.
And you're yelling.
All this, I cook and I clean and yeah, that's part of your function. But when your tire is flat, my function is to make sure you have a new tire.
But
when
that's
your
what
car
I'm
need an
saying.
oil change, it's my job to make sure these people ain't ripping you off. We have different duties and functions and responsibilities. And if you don't love your duty, your function, your responsibility, you're not fit to be a wife, period.
Absolutely. And that's why I talk about the roles. You know, your role as a woman in a man's life has a higher function than you going out and getting a job yourself. So when you become such an independent woman and know that you can get all the things that you want as a princess by going out and having your own job and your own career, the problem with that is you're not going to find your king. I don't think that's possible. You've taken upon a different role. Granted, you might find someone that will claim to be your king, but is he really a king? And that's the question, you know? Okay, the next one. Go ahead.
Well, you know, I was going to say, is he your match? Right, I think would be a better word, because you know we've used the words princesses and kings and raising people to have way more self-worth than those around them, even though they're not actually worth more. Well, I think a part of the problem is that we need to see everyone as kings and queens, right? I think that everyone is pretty much their own individual monarch in charge of their own life. And the moment that you try to start demanding something from someone else when either you aren't providing something back or you don't even know them, which is something very prevalent in our world now, you're going to generate consequences which are going to affect everyone negatively because of your own egotism, because you can't recognize that everyone is their own sovereign being, right?
Right.
I think this is part of the problem. Because the way I see it is, you know, we're all the Christ, we're all the Buddha, we're all gods, and we need to start respecting each other just like we respect ourselves.
Yep, I'll agree with that. That image and likeness and the power of God comes through us. So when I look at another man in an image and likeness of that same power, I have to recognize his power and that sovereignty. I have to have that respect for myself and my own power to equalize it in him. If I'm not doing that, then I'm degrading myself and my own power, because that is the greatest power, is the recognition of equality. So let's take a look. So let's take a look at this delusion that this woman's going through. And I think Brian pointed it out very clearly.
That I'm delusional for not believing that I'm an average person.
Yes. You are a bit delusional. And part of the blame is on society and Disney and all this shit. You've been told that Prince Charming is coming, and you've been sold this lie about what you deserve. You've been sold a lie about what kind of men there are out there.
I think I would rather stay single for the rest of my life than to
And you'd
settle
rather
for
be,
somebody that...
It's not settling. I don't think it's settling, though.
But if I see myself as whatever and I see this partner that I don't think is deserving of me, then in my perspective, I'm settling.
Okay.
I'd rather stay single.
And deserving of you in what? Your laziness, in expecting him to do everything for you because you're the princess. And therefore, if he doesn't do exactly as you want, then you're not going to settle. See, that's the problem. You're never going to find him, lady. You're never going to find him because you will always find a flaw and say, I'm not going to settle. I deserve better. That's the way they've been indoctrinated.
I'm pretty happy.
So you might wonder why I asked the looks rating question. I do believe that when women think that they're more attractive than they actually are, and this can be caused by a few reasons. It could be just 100% internal self-delusion. You look at a girl's Instagram page, she could be obese. Her friends are all saying, I wish I looked as good as you. Slay queen, you ate. Blah, blah, blah. Women will gas each other up, especially even more so with your unattractive friends. I mean, look, maybe you guys don't believe that there's such thing as, oh, everyone's beautiful and blah, blah, blah. Great fantasy. Enjoy living in your fantasy land. There's a hierarchy. Some people are more attractive than others. Now, to be fair, there are delusional dudes out there. Maybe you know them. And you even clown on them. You're, oh, the guy thinks he's hot shit, but he really isn't anything. But that's you creating a hierarchy. That's you rejecting male delusion. Why can't you acknowledge your own delusion or female delusion?
Do you think that I'm delusional for not believing that I'm an average person?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that cognitive dissonance is the hardest thing to overcome for each individual. And this goes along with what I was saying earlier. You know, at some point, growing up means that you have to stop listening to your parents and start trying to discover truth for yourself. You know, I don't know if this girl here or these girls in this whatever clip have ever listened to their parents or what kind of parents they might have had, but you know, they're listening to someone who did them a lot of damage, clearly. And
yeah, like Tony Robbins said, bringing these girls up to think they're princesses, and the same thing with men, of course. But the obverse aspect in men is that men don't go around propping each other up so much. Men will actually tear each other down and try to convince their friends to do better. You know, this is a more abundant aspect in men, whereas women, when they get in their catcalling and shit, they get pretty severe with each other, you know. But
and
when
another thing with men is they tear each other down, but the winners or the people who are the so-called alpha males amongst the men, they tend to get boosted up by the other men, right? Have you noticed that one?
Yes.
We're cheering on all these athletes. We're cheering on people like, you know, making movies about like the Wolf of Wall Street and wanting to be like these people or all these mafia people or all these predatory masculine type figures whose whole goal or whole profession revolves around winning at the expense of others.
Right. And I'm glad you put, and I'm glad you put that predatory masculinity, because that's not what we're looking at as real men. Real men are not predatory. They are protective and provisional. So let's take a look at the next one. A world without men. Here we go with some great statistics. I think this is the one that's got all them 97% statistics and stuff about the job force, the workforce.
When feminists say they don't need men, you ready for this? When feminists say they don't need men, 96% of construction workers are men. 95% of electricians are men. 95% of plumbers are men. 98% of carpenters are men. 94% of HVAC technicians are men. 97% of mechanics are men. 96% of welders are men. 91% of truck drivers are men. And we know what the other 90%
Yeah, right, Marge.
Yeah. 97% of roofers are men. 95% of oil rig workers are men. 90% of machine operators are men. 85% of network engineers are men. 91% of mechanical engineers are men. 86% of civil engineers are men. 96% of firefighters are men. 85% of police officers are men. 80% of military personnel are men. 90% of pilots are men. 94% of train operators are men. 92% of forklift operators are men.
Wow.
These are some of the riskiest jobs in the world.
What about
So when you think that you can live in a world without men, ladies, you have to remember, men built societies. And if there's, and granted, This is showing 3, 5, 10%, maybe 15% women in the workforce. But even if you filled that workforce with 50% women, you still would not be able to convince the men to do what you want them to do by force. We have to remember the force doctrine. Men did this again for the convenience of women. And if you try to use it against men, I guarantee you, even in modern day, men recognize this and you will fuck yourself. And that's what you're literally doing by making these insane demands in these relationships, demanding men be a particular style, have particular mannerisms, and make sure that they will do what you say as a dictatorship. And that's not going to work. I guarantee you.
Well, I don't really see the problem so much as women holding men to a standard. The problem I see is what standards are they actually holding the men to? And for thousands of years, women have, they've supported the men. Cage actually brought this up. He used the example of women switching sides during wars. Women tend to support men who they think are going to provide them the ultimate securities, regardless of if, that man's actually going to allow them to be a free individual.
Right. And that's why I mentioned the things that make a man secure in his relationship is the loyalty of his woman, the trust, the support, the nurturing, the integrity, all those things that they get in a relationship that make them feel successful in providing and protecting. If a man does not feel successful, he tries to figure out why he's not. If he understands it's the woman and insane needs, he will no longer work towards success in that relationship. He will now start looking for ways out to make it better for himself because he sees it not getting better no matter how much effort he puts into it. And this is the sad state of affairs here. This is going to show the popularity contest. I think this young man looks just fine with his nice long hair. I think he looks just fine with his nice long hair. But in this popularity contest, we have this thing that women won't accept you unless you look good. It's more apt to be a relationship man if you look nice. And that's why men don't want the women for so much look nice. They want that security stuff. They want a woman that is going to help provide that security for him in those things I just mentioned, the loyalty and secure nurturing and all that. That's very important for a man. Whereas women want looks. They've been conditioned to be looking nice for men, and now they want men that look nice for them. See how that worked against you, men? So let's take a look at this fine young man as is. But he went through the cost, expense, time, effort, and explanation of why he wanted to look good for this girl. Why doesn't he think he looks good enough as he is? Because he's been conditioned already.
And I just realized my crush is in the same first period as me, so.
Sheesh, no way, bro. What are we looking to get?
Her crush has this haircut, so I'm trying to look like her type.
You want a buzz cut like Marlon, bro?
Yeah.
I'm glad you're making an effort to try to pull her, bro, but I think you should just be yourself. I'm not trying to be funny or anything, bro, but straight away, I can see that you've got a massive forehead. So
I think you should just be yourself. But we're going to go ahead and cut you into somebody else anyway.
the buzz cut really isn't gonna look good for you, bro. So, bro, you have all this long hair, bro, so why don't we just do something else, bro?
I've been going out for like 4 years and I'm getting kind of tired of it. I'm just trying to get a nice haircut and impress my crush.
Listen, bro, if you got a buzz cut, your crush is definitely not gonna be impressed with that. And honestly, bro, she's gonna think you got sent to Nerf Town. So, bro, what I highly recommend we do is a massive low taper fade on the sides to enhance your jawline. And then let's do a messy middle part to show off your facial features. Because you're low-key a good-looking guy, bro. And you're gonna like this option a lot better, bro. And your crush is gonna be a lot happier with this option, too.
Yeah, but whatever. I'm gonna plan on asking her out tomorrow if this haircut goes well, so just better get me right.
Hey, bro, don't worry about it. Because you know what they say. If it ain't Gooper,
It ain't super duper.
He looks more feminine with the shorter hair.
Bingo. And see, my mom and dad, I like my long hair too, brother. And my mom and dad told me all the time when I was younger, Keith, you should cut your hair. You'd look better. You'd be able to get a better job. I don't want that stuff. I want to remain as natural as possible. And my understanding, again, according to scripture, just like pruning a tree, if I want my mind to heal, I can shave, and all the energy in my body and growing hair is going to go to my face. And that's part of a spiritual connection with my vocal cords and the toroidal currents that I put out. And so as I grow older and I grow the beard out, that's me speaking out in a different sense. I'm not conforming to a popularity contest. I'm the guy that wears the short mustache to make a point. I did for 2 years, going to city council meetings, doing videos and talking about Hitler's willing executioners. That's what this society is building. So let's look at the next one. This has to do with the racism issue. Again, on the Whatever podcast. And again, it's part of that conditioning. We have to understand that image and likeness. We are familial with each other, even if we're not born of the same genomes.
Do you only date black guys?
Yes. I mean, I have spoken to like 1 or 2 white guys, but like, the attraction's just not really there.
I prefer just people of color. The less super white looking, the better to me.
What about you specifically want to have white children? Is that wrong?
I think that's wrong.
Let's say a white person's like, I don't want to have mixed race kids. I want to have white kids.
That's racist.
Why would it be racist?
How do you explain that is racist? That's racist right off the bat. That's racist. Because I want to have white children, or I want to stick with my ethnic origins. That's racist. I have a hard time with the logic behind some of this stuff. And again, I think it's because they're not using logic. They're using their emotions.
Because why don't you?
But is it
because of the color of their skin? That's the only reason you don't want that.
Would it be racist if a black person wanted to get with a black woman so that he could have black kids? Is that racist?
If he wanted to get with a black woman, no.
If he wants to get with a black woman to have black children, it's not racist. But if a white man wants to get with a white woman to have white children, that's racist. Fucking make it make sense.
You know,
the only thing that really does make it make sense is their conditioning, right? You know, they've been conditioned. Now, it can't make sense from my point of view, right? Like there's no way that I can accept that premise that if a white person wants to have kids that are whites, they're racist. But if a black person wants to do the same thing, they're not racist. I just can't accept that.
Yeah.
Because there's no logic or principles there.
I was just going to say it destroys the logic.
But when you look at it from the perspective of this is a person who has cognitive dissonance, and they likely have never really actually analyzed their worldviews or the information that they've been told throughout their lives. They've never actually used discernment. Then it becomes clear why they could say something like that.
Right. Absolutely. And again, that's pointing to the actual problem that I believe it to be in the language in the education. We're not taught how to speak properly in that educational system. We're taught to learn how to spell, but yet we have a 8th grade reading comprehension.
And just think of what you said. We're taught to learn how to spell, like they're casting spells on us with our language to keep us in this trance of not knowing what the hell we're doing in our life. And that your language is a big part of it. You know, I'd say English is just a whole bunch of doublespeak.
Absolutely. And I'm going to show you something. Everybody pay attention. This is 42 U.S. Code 1395X. And I want you to understand, when you're born in a hospital, mom went into the hospital and she registered on her first day. And then when you were born, you had a first day wherein both people received inpatient hospital treatment. So let's take a look at the very first definition under 42 U.S. Code 1395X, spell of illness. You are literally born in a spell of illness. The term spell of illness with respect to any individual means a period of consecutive days beginning with the first day, not included in a previous spell of illness, on which such individual is furnished inpatient hospital services, inpatient critical access hospital services, or extended care services, and which occurs in a month for which he is entitled to benefits under Part A. Mom and dad hand over the Social Security number saying that they're already a benefit taker, and now they have to fill out a birth registration, and that's the application for Part A. You've already been applied for Part A as an infant, born the first day you're born in inpatient hospital services in order to receive those inpatient hospital services. That's your spell of illness that you are literally born in this patriarchal system. Just so you know, folks.
So that's a bunch of legalese there, and it's kind of hard to understand legalese, but basically it sounded like since you're born in a hospital and you need their services to live as an infant, this puts you under some sort of government authority. Is that what I'm getting? Is that what it basically says?
Correct. In order to receive Part A benefits in inpatient hospital services, it's a spell of illness. And understand, mom went in there under natural labor, not any kind of illness. So let's look at this next one. This is another one from Pearlie. Women that are never satisfied. They've been, again, Tony Robbins said it perfectly. We've raised our daughters up to be princesses, taught them a fairy tale, but didn't tell them the reality.
Even know how to treat men because they were never taught how. Boys grew up being trained from day one. Be a gentleman, open the door, protect her, provide for her, be understanding. And if she hits you, you don't hit her back. Everywhere we looked, the message was the same. Right. Movies, books, fairy tales. The man rescues the woman. The man saves the day. The man risks his life. The man carries the burden. And women were always the princesses, right? Right. But there's a problem with that. We never saw the reverse. We never saw stories about how women should be treating men. No novels teaching girls how to respect a man. No movies demonstrating feminine loyalty, softness, or devotion. Parents don't even teach it. School doesn't even teach it. And society definitely doesn't teach that. So guess what happens? We have generations of women who expect everything, but were never taught to give anything back. Women don't
Want. I get everything I want. You can't give it to me, then you ain't my man.
Yeah, it is a satanic form of thinking. Feminism is basically just a miniature or a watered down version of Satanism. Just like I said, Marxism is a watered down version of Hermeticism, because Satanism is based in egotism and self-worship of going out into the world and taking what you want from it, right, at the expense of whoever. But these women, they're not doing it from the perspective of like a Satanist or a dark Luciferian. They're doing it from the perspective thinking that they're actually doing some sort of good in the world or creating some sort of equality.
Yeah,
right?
A grandiose sense of entitlement.
And this is really a large part of where the indoctrination has gone. It's gone into giving these people satanic thinking under a guise that they're actually bringing good to the world when they're not.
Absolutely. And it goes to that equality and the level of thinking that goes with it. This woman is going to show that the epitome of the delusion of her equality. in that she's going to talk about her salary of $30,000 a year, but diss the man that's making $14,000 a month, saying that's not good enough.
Flip it. My accident.
I make too much.
Did you let him slip it? My accident.
I make too much money to let that shit happen.
She makes too much money to make that shit happen.
Yeah, just way to throw all your self-worth into worthless pieces of paper, right? That's the real spell. That I would call that a spell of illness.
Yes.
You know, just completely detracting your own spiritual potential, detracting any potential to tap into a sacred feminine power or even a sacred masculine power, and just give it over to money or give it over to the state, right? And, you know, just reject your fellow human being because they aren't meeting your money standard, instead of, you know, meeting a better standard of, do they have principles? Are they going to treat me right, rather than are they just going to provide for me materially? This is a real hijacking here.
Yeah, and it's not just the lady bragging about 30K a month. It's the guy, or 30K a year. It's the guy bragging about 14K a month as well. That just shows you how much he's been indoctrinated into that monetary system, that he thinks it's so important that 14K a month is what he needs. You know, because if he's a good man, I don't know that 14,000 a month as a single man would be, you know, unless he's looking for extremely long game, which is very rare. Very rare. In a situation like this, I'm betting he's using that money for entertainment, as you spoke of earlier, rather than assets and long game stuff.
And comfort.
How much money do you?
Yes, comfort.
How much money you make?
$30,000 a year.
How much?
$30,000 a year.
How much money you make at the end of the year?
I make $14,000 a month.
I'm not impressed.
$30,000 a year. $30,000 a year. She had to speak it twice because it's impressive. She makes $30,000 a year. He makes $14,000 a month. I'm not impressed. How ridiculous. How literally ridiculous can you get, folks?
I didn't ask you for this, but I told you how much I make a month.
Good for you.
How do you make that in a month?
I sell solar.
Solar?
Solar, yeah.
So you make 14 grand a month?
Yes.
Did you let him slip it?
Oops. So yeah, you know, braggadocious all you want. I don't get it myself. You know, I'm a guy. I quit the employment setup. I don't have a state ID. I don't have a bank account. And it's a much different life. It's a much humbler life than when I was a younger man making $150,000 a year. Yeah, I was having the fun of my life. That's why I say this guy making 14,000 is probably for entertainment and stuff. You know, that comfort and convenience, and not a long term, a long game. You know, because I didn't do it for long game. I did it knowing that I was going to be able to spend that money immediately, and I was going to have fun doing it. Pure and simple. Because again, you know, nobody taught me that family aspect of holding back some assets and building for that long game.
Considering this guy's on the street talking to women, he's probably not doing it for the long game.
Right. That's why I say, you know, I don't. I'll show a lot of these shorts and stuff, but again, it's interpretive, and I'm just giving my opinion. And in that, there's a lot of things that I'm not going to mention that you have to grasp for yourself. And this is an autodidactic platform. Like I said, do not believe me. Do not believe the neighbor. Do not believe the government. For crying out loud, do not believe your mother. Do your own research so you know. Pay attention to your own firsthand experiences so you can be aware. And this is the last one I've got, I believe. When it comes to that socialism and what we have in America for a democracy, a democratic vote, 51% versus 49%, a very teeter-totter system, not very stable. Whereas Gaddafi, he had 97% Muslim population. The other 3% was a majority Orthodox Christianity, which is at least aligned with Abrahamic religion. So they got along quite well, just fine. But they went through expulsions of Italians and Berbers and all kinds of people to get to that. And this is what's happening in America with the democratic society like we have. It's not stable. People think it is because it's a great democratic voting process, but you don't end up with 80 versus 20. You end up with 51 versus 49, and that is not a solid vote. I guarantee you that is the weakest vote in a democracy you can have.
Said what no one else would say.
What is more dangerous to America? Progressive ideology or Muslims that are coming to you who are not willing to assimilate? They want to convert this into what they believe in.
Well, those two threats are intertwined. Muslims also hate progressives, but progressives are useful idiots. Essentially, what Muslims do is they'll vote Democrat and they'll vote for leftist policies. They'll do whatever they need to do because leftists continue to open up the immigration trail for more Muslims to come in. So as long as Muslims can use left-wingers for the path to bring more Muslims in, they'll vote left overwhelmingly. But you see them locally do exactly the opposite, which is amazingly fun to watch. So locally, they'll be like, no gays in school, right? No this, no women doing this, none of this degeneracy, right? We won't allow any of that. But then they vote for leftist politicians and you're like, why would you do that? Well, it's because the leftist politicians are opening up the pathways for citizenship for more Muslims to come in. It's a takeover. It's an invasion. He said.
And this is not just strictly to Muslim. This is to anybody that wants to take advantage of that democratic system and use one party or the other for their advantage. You know? So, and that's why I mentioned, you know, the Democratic vote at 51-49 is the weakest one you've got. The strongest system you have is where that social unit is in unity, and that is the more profound that percentage of unity becomes, the more unified that nation is. So if you've got a 51-49 unity, it's not as strong as, like I said, an 80-20.
Not only that, besides the 51-49 thing, there pretty much is no unity in a democracy anyway, because you have two groups of people who have different views that are completely opposed to each other over how they're going to control the centralized means on violence. And when you get that, you know, you're just going to basically have an internal war between these two groups of people where when it's a country like the United States, a lot of foreigners are going to get, you know, they're going to suffer because of that, let alone the American people. You know, we suffer a lot, you know, and people go on about all the contributions we give to other countries, and that is definitely a thing. But arguing over who is going to control the government is never going to solve those issues, right? All it's going to do is suppress each other, because one side wants to implement laws that's going to provide for welfare, and then the other side has to fund those laws to provide for that welfare. And then the other side, they just want the government to stay out of everyone's lives and defend the traditions that they think society's built on, right? That's the dilemma you have in the US. You have the liberals and the conservatives who both want these sorts of things. The liberals want the welfare. The conservatives want the government to defend everyone. And ultimately, they kind of want the same thing. They want control over the centralized means on violence, and they want everyone to live at the expense of everyone else so that they can go about funding the things and providing the things that they think that the world needs, when it actually doesn't need any of the things they need typically.
Yeah, and that's the problem with progressivism, is because it's a future forward-looking thing. And they're looking at the progress and saying, okay, well, the stats show that the population is going to be this, so we're going to need to do this in order to prepare for it. Well, when that time comes, it's either one way or the other. It's never balanced perfectly so that they hit it on the spot. And what happens is you either over project and end up with problems that you didn't have before, or you under project, and you end up with problems that you didn't have before. So it's, again, the society at large, when we depend upon socialism in that manner, that's what it creates. Whereas the social family structure at its smallest unit is the most efficient. So if the power that provides for a small family unit to be efficient like that is used on the upper levels, that's what we're looking for. But what we're finding is that the solutions to familial problems are being extricated as if though they're valid solutions for an entire population. And like you said earlier, we have two opposing views. So when we put a vote to California legislation to talk about plastic straws in paper wraps, we end up with the solution that says, okay, well, let's use paper straws and plastic wraps, while we're still not even talking about the real issue, which is the plastic cap and the plastic cup that you end up putting that straw in, which leads us to the biggest problem, is the recycling or reuse of plastics in whole, and not just a plastic straw. So
yeah, the government, it seems to be there for people to think that they're solving problems by going out there and casting their vote or paying their taxes. But really, the government is run by people with far more control over material resources than a lot of us put together. And they have their own agenda that's pretty much got very little to do with us. And if it does have anything to do with us, you know, we're pretty much like resources to be expended to meet that agenda's goal, right?
Right.
And the people, I mean, I think that the illusion has shattered a bit, but, you know, there's a whole lot of MAGA. There's a whole lot of people who think that voting for Kamala Harris would make things different than what they are now. And maybe they would a little bit, but fundamentally things would be the same.
Yeah, you'd still be with another election cycle next time where you're still the beta or the cuck that's voting for somebody else to have authority over you, instead of admitting that they don't have authority over you and you just need to start making better decisions for yourself. Why are you constantly letting other people make your decisions for you on a societal, unbalanced democracy? You know, that leaves you on a slip and slide downhill with oil going faster than you've ever gone before. You don't know what's down at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what you were talking about earlier of trying to get the familial unit and the principles that they grow into the highest levels, right? The system we have clearly doesn't do that. But I think that one way to get there is, you know, people need to respect each other first of all. And I think that leadership needs to be earned on a day-to-day basis, essentially, right? So like the best leader today might not be the best leader tomorrow, or the best leader for this project might not be the best leader for that project. But when we come together under a temporary hierarchy with our mindset to achieve a goal, that's where progress comes in. But people, they want to go home and they want to have that hierarchy still in their mind. They want to attach themselves to what they were doing in the day, even though they're not doing that. You know, it's time to go to bed, and they still got in their mind, I'm the boss, or I'm the manager, or I got all this money. Yep. Instead of focusing on, you know, sustaining life and trying to be better people through our creations, right? You know, we're trying to use our creations to suppress each other.
Yeah,
this just cannot be.
Have you read Muammar Gaddafi's book, The Green Book?
No, but I watched that video.
Okay, well, it's you can find it in PDF, folks. Just look up The Green Book by Muammar Gaddafi. It's 106 pages. It's a nice, easy read. And he's the guy that had control of his population by popular vote for 4 decades as a dictator. They allowed him to stay in office, not by a regular vote, but through a parliament, but by allowing him to say, yeah, we need this education system and we need to do healthcare like this. And it worked for them. And they actually did appreciate their neighbors. They actually did care for their neighbors. And they gave him kudos for doing a good job. And that's why he remained in office for 4 decades. And that's why the International Forum had to take him out. It was the one country that was showing how socialism really works under his third universal theory, where you can be a dictator and have the confidence of the people without a vote by them actually maintaining that that power themselves. He gave the people the power, and he structured it in a way that he would guide the people in that power. And as long as he gave them good guidance, the people kept him in that power position. And that power position for Gaddafi was against the International Forum, not against his people. He was the patriarchal protector of that which he recognized was provided by the people. And that's the importance of the government structure in a patriarch, is to separate the power and the provision. The power is to protect that which is provided. Without having provisions, you have no government. So in this capitalist world where we have a representative body that's displacing the sovereignty of what's provided, what they're doing is they're capturing that wealth. That's the wealth displacement. And they have control over commodities, contracts, legislation, regulation, policing, prisons, all of it, not the people.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and get off, but I will leave. I will just say one more statement, which is that, and if we want the world to change and be more free, which is, I think this whole conversation basically revolved around, right? Even though it was kind of unspoken, right? We need to find the power within ourselves to make our own lives free. And that comes with making or accepting responsibility for our own decisions and not delegating it off to some ruler, or not delegating it off to some, money, or even things like alcohol or drugs, which some people make excuses. We are not our circumstances. We can overcome our circumstances, right? Even if our circumstances like today, they seem pretty bad, we can come out of it, but it just requires a whole lot of work on an individual level.
Yep, absolutely. That's the individualism we need to see, is that caring and nurturing, that feminine side of it, that is provision and protection of the masculine side to be able to even procreate with the feminism. And again, that's the man's job, not the woman's job.
Right. Well, so, I had a nice talk, El Perro.
Yes, appreciate it. Like I said, I want to get this stream on Muammar Gaddafi and socialism and all that set up. So appreciate the preliminary here today. Like I said earlier, I think we both really do think a lot alike, and I think it'll be a good discussion. But I'm hoping I can find people like Joe that will really push some buttons. Joe Cool, I'm sure you're familiar with, and others that will bring some serious questions.
I think I looked at Joe's channel once, and there was like cop stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, appreciate you coming up.
It was a good talk.
You bet. Anything else on the way out?
Agape, and that's about it.
Absolutely. Hotep. Peace, brother.
All right, laters.
And I want to thank everybody else. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. There's a PayPal link down there for anybody who wants to share some love. But of course, always remember, every little bit is appreciated. And in that, be blessed, everybody.
I am accounted for. My name's been read, written in the ledger where the lamb was led. Denied the body, denied the blood, pay every debt in the flood of love. So tell me now, what's left to owe? When mercy calls, I can't say no. Are we too old on anything? Just grace erase what the law might bring. If love's the all, then love fulfills all that binds all their wills. Silver spend, the temples fall, but the heart still whispers through it all. Render to God what is divine, and what remains is only mine. So tell me now, what's mine to keep when every truth cuts dark and deep? Are we all knowing anything? Does the blood absolve the suffering? If love's the law, then I am free. But is that law the law of me? Sold. If I am dust, I still am gold. The measure's met, the balance true. No doubt remains, save love for you. To owe no man anything, did not the Christ pay everything? The law fulfilled, the veil torn through. Now the law of me is loving you.